Hello, everybody, and welcome to a blind commentary of Your Lie in April. So, this is completely blind. I haven't even actually read the synopsis. I was just recommended this show because it has something to do with a pianist, and basically it has something to do with with music, and that's basically my only experience with it. So, this should be rather interesting because even for those who don't know, I am myself a pianist, so not a very good one, mind you, but a pianist nonetheless. But this should be rather interesting to see how exactly this fares. It will be interesting to see what this story will be about. I don't even know the genre of this, so it could be drama, it could be romance, it could be comedy for all I know. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this actually will be about. But I do believe that it will be rather fitting. So let's just get on with the show proper. Well, for once, at the very least, the opening is very upbeat, and at the very least, coming from Overlord, which has very trashy openings. I don't mean in a bad way, trashy. I mean in the sense of music, it's trash metal. It has very trash metal, very harsh openings. It's very good to have a very upbeat, light-hearted, very light, just very jovial um, opening, and that's definitely very entertaining, and it's a very good, very nice change of pace for me personally. Now, one other thing about the opening is that it actually does a pretty efficient job of, at the very least, introducing and showing the main four characters. I presume that those will be the main four characters, and some of the side characters and antagonists, at the very least the opposing people, or something. It's hard to make any kind of intricate commentary at this point, since I have no clue what the story will be about. But at the very least, it showed some of the characters rather effectively. So it's a very interesting opening, and actually it's a very energetic and very quick to the point. Um, Very brief opening, like very short for once, which is rather surprising that it was so short. But I suppose when you've got a good thing, you don't really need to prolong it any for any extended period of time. Now, I already recognize some of Moonlight Sonata here immediately at the beginning of this episode. So let us continue. Yes, it is Moonlight Sonata, the third movement actually. Now this is a really an amazingly hard song to play, so I do like that they are using classical pieces here as well, because that is something that I really quite appreciate, that they're using actual classical musical pieces. It will be really interesting going through the series to try and recognize all of the songs, but unfortunately, because my own knowledge about classical music is very limited, I probably won't be naming all of the songs, so but I will be appreciating them nonetheless.
バイバイ。
Jeez. Jesus Christ, that's an excess. That's rather brutal. But at the very least, like, the show starts off with a rather light-hearted manner, so that's at the very least, like, it's kind of nice to see that for once to have a very light-hearted, like, slice of life, I even possibly related show. So that's gonna be pretty good. I probably should have taken a look at the genres, but it's far more interesting to actually have the experience completely fresh for me without any kind of spoilers. So yeah, I merely looked at the synopsis, just one word, that it's about a prodigious pianist, and I was like, yep, that sounds good. So it's gonna be really interesting to see, and it's really good to have something lighthearted. It's nice to have something very chill for once.
しかし後世も災難だよな。説教された上に。
Now, although I do feel like this will be an enjoyable show for sure, like slice of life is something that I do generally enjoy. Now, I do have a strange feeling that there will unfortunately be very little for me to comment on. So, at the very least, for a change of pace, the episodes will be short. The videos will be shorter for once. But it's at the very least, like, maybe once the drama and or drama or romance or whatever starts picking up, maybe then I'll have something to talk about. But I do have a feeling that these videos will be quite considerably shorter than some of my other videos, like that legendary 1 hour long Avatar commentary.
反省文2枚だって。
こんなのへっちゃら風景がカラフルに見えてるんだろうな。僕とは違う。
お父さんいつ
I have a really bad feeling that this will be an edgelord slice of life, though. Like that. I got a really strange feeling about this, though. It can be hard for prodigious people to actually see the world through the eyes of the commoner. That's good. What am I saying? Oh my god. I should probably cut that out. Oh well, whatever.
頃帰ってくるの？
ああ、1ヶ月か2ヶ月。
Oh Jesus Christ, having a grand piano in your home, that would be the dream, holy hell. That would be amazing. Although you can get a grand piano for relatively cheap. But still, that would be really quite something. Although, there is this kind of impression that when you have a piano at your home, you should probably you should probably be practicing like, well, almost daily. And especially if you have a grand piano, you should probably be practicing daily. So, the horrors. It just though even if that this boy here is probably the rather prodigious piano player, it's something that I cannot personally very much relate to, because, like I said in the opening statement, I do not consider myself to be very good. So it's something that I'm definitely not a talented little musician. So it's nothing that I can exactly relate to. So, but it's going to be interesting to see the relative comparison between the two of us.
ただいま。ピアノが弾けなくなった。
Oh, that is actually a rather interesting little change that he would probably have not perhaps. There's no way it's anything so simple as just mere stage fright, because stage fright is something you can work over. So it won't be easy, but it's something you can work over. But it's going to be that is an interesting little change to the formula, I would say. Perhaps it won't be quite as simple. Perhaps this will be something I can relate to. That would be rather interesting.
音楽教室を営んでいた母のレッスンは毎日何時間も。
Okay, I actually will have something to say about this. But it isn't actually as I expected it to turn out, so there actually will be something for me to talk about here, which is rather surprising, because there is a period of time there. Music playing is a rather different kind of hobby for me, so there will be something for me to talk about, but that will be super depressing, so we're gonna save that for the outro, and you can always skip over the outro if you don't want to hear about it, and I'll be sure to make it rather apparent when I'm gonna talk about it. So, but this is actually raising quite a lot of interesting questions, because now this is actually a feeling that I can relate to, so yeah.
叩かれながら怒鳴られながら
輝き出したの。
Oh, we have been introduced to the main love interest. How predictable. But it's fine if it's that rather predictable. Like, there's still a possibility that things could turn out rather differently, so it's definitely not locked in place yet, but it's definitely a rather suspicious sign of contrasting their first meeting and their contrasting their first meeting with the those words. So yeah, you know, it is rather apparent. I don't know if I should be muting through these parts because I have a feeling that all of these songs are copyrighted. But you know, it's at the very least interesting. I don't recognize that song though, so it might be an original piece. Okay, okay. Very well. So that was a rather relaxed ending song at the very least. It's a very nice little ending song. It's fine. I don't have much to say about it. It's a very, unfortunately, rather plain of an ending song. So there's definitely nothing wrong with it, but it's definitely nothing outstanding where I could have anything interesting to comment about it. So you know, that's unfortunate. Now, about the general episode or the show just in general so far, the story seems to be just a general love story, which, you know, I like romance stories and love stories just in general. So that's definitely not a bad thing, and it's something that I generally quite like. So yeah, it's definitely something that will appeal to me. So it's going to be really interesting to see how much I eventually end up liking the show. And the tinge of classical music and the just in general the fact that the main character is a pianist who has given up on piano is something that kind of resonates quite hardly with me. Now, unfortunately, I will not be talking about. I just decided that I will not actually. I will probably make another separate video about my complicated relationship with music because it's a rather long story, and I'd rather not make this video 30. It's already 30. God. Okay, I'd rather not make this 45 minutes long video. So you know. Um, but just in general, the feelings of the main character are some things. They are feelings that I can personally relate to, such as hating the piano and I know that sounds rather weird, but it's a feeling that I can relate to in some manner, even though it's definitely very different from. They are different circumstances, and I'm definitely not a prodigious pianist. Definitely not a progeny. So, um, I'm definitely not a good pianist either, so you know that there's huge difference there. But just in general, there are feelings that I can relate to. And then talking about the general terms of the show, the art style definitely seems to be very, once again, rather plain, but also at the same time rather unique to say the least. So it's the faces are rather, they are very outstanding. Like they are very different from the norm. Well, not very different, but they are different from the norm at the very least. They are not your usual type of faces, so they do stand out quite a bit, and they are quite easy to recognize from the crowd, and that's definitely a good thing. And it generally makes the show quite have a very distinctive look to it, even though just in general, if you take just a quick glance at the show, it looks very generic, and that's kind of a bad thing. But just in general, the fact that the faces are the thing that are the most important, and they have paid quite a lot of attention to that, so it's pretty good that the faces are very different. And just the fact that the show's character design is also surprisingly distinctive, even though they really don't have, they really are very mundane and believable normal day clothes and such. The character design just in general is rather distinctive, especially with the different hairstyles and all that, even though, and they are still rather believable, which is really quite surprising for anime to have believable hairstyles now, isn't it? It's rather unique at the very least. And I do feel like there will now, just in general, the show at the very least starts off rather strong with a very clear idea of what it is going to be about. but of course the exact order of events will be uncertain for the time being, but it will be rather interesting to follow exactly how things will pan out, because I have a feeling that it will turn out into a triangle romance, which, you know, could be fine if handled correctly, although it could also be poorly handled, and that would be rather bothersome. But, you know, it could be handled very well. Just in general, I wonder how much the piano playing will and classical music will play, how big of a part that will play in the general gist of in the general story, because that is something that I was actually rather enthralled about. So how much music will generally play a part in the story, that would be rather interesting to see. So, you know, it's an interesting story to start off with. I'm rather excited about to continue this, because it generally, it's good to have some um I suppose you could call it slice of life. It's generally good to have something a little bit more light-hearted. So yeah, I have no objections to the show. It's good. It's a good start at the very least. So yeah. That being said, I do have a lot of other things to say, but I'll save those for later date, and I'll let my feelings develop until the next episode. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you in the future. Have a great day and stay awesome. Genmu out. Thank you all very much for watching.